that's how some cable news networks covered a story the Washington Post broke in January on then-President Trump's phone call to Georgia's top elections investigator. The paper has now issued a correction to that report. A correction, not an apology. After a recording of the call came out, the Post admitted it wrongly quoted President Trump then based on an anonymous source. The correction reads in part, Trump did not tell the investigator to find the fraud or say she would be a national hero if she did so. Instead, Trump urged the investigator to scrutinize certain ballots, saying she would find dishonesty there. CNN is also correcting its story, but other outlets ran without any correction, and they still haven't done it. The backlash on Twitter goes like this. Will big tech ban the Washington Post for spreading misinformation? And this, it's not hypothetical. This is just one example of the liberal media using anonymous sources to influence their readers. This one they got caught, but how many have they gotten away with? Power panel comes in now. Former Trump 2020 Advisory Board member Jason Meister, radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. Great to see you both. Jason, you and I have talked many times about accountability. When you make a mistake, your integrity grows when you take responsibility for it. What is going on with some of the members of the mainstream media right now?
Yeah, and thanks for having me, Harris. Look, this is coming from the paper that prides itself on democracy dies in darkness. So we need to shine a bright light all over this. And look, at the end of the day, we live in the age of narratives where propagandized storylines, not facts, matter. And that's the problem. We had so many narratives over the last 4 years. We had the Russia collusion narrative. We had the Kavanaugh's a gang rapist narrative. We had the Trump owns hydroxychloroquine narrative. We had so many narratives. And the fact of the matter is that Trump never said, find me the fraud. And then the House impeachment members cited this article and this quote on page 10 of the articles of impeachment. This is extremely dangerous. And if we are going to have a strong democracy, we need to have an honest and fair press, and we don't have one right now. And thank God for journalists and reporters like you who report on the facts and let the American people decide.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Jason. Let me get to this. Former President Trump says in a statement, quote, you will notice that establishment media errors, omissions, mistakes, and outright lies always slant one way, against me and against Republicans. Meanwhile, stories that hurt Democrats or undermine their narratives are buried, ignored, or delayed until they can do the least harm. For example, after an election is over, a strong democracy requires a fair and honest press. This latest media travesty underscores that legacy media outlets should be regarded as political entities, not journalistic enterprises. In any event, I thank the Washington Post for the correction. Leslie, he took the high road there.
You know what, this isn't a misquote, okay? This is an entirely different story. Yeah. I'm a liberal Democrat, and that headline, you know, we all know in Journalism 101, if it bleeds, it leads. That was bleeding. Find the fraud is certainly not, you'll be praised, one. Two, it is wrong for the president or anyone to be calling election officials regarding an election, as Donald Trump did. Three, Georgia is having an investigation into that. However, what the Washington Post did is wrong. It is not journalism. There's a tape there. And there's no way that you can you'll be praised and find the fraud. It's not like, oh, I heard it wrong. I'm sorry. It doesn't just need to be corrected. The original story has to be retracted and removed and rewritten and apologies. And how did you get from point A to point B? Because I was always taught when I used to be a journalist and didn't opine for a living, you know, you put the facts out there and then you let your readers, your viewers, your listeners make their own determination. And certainly, if you're putting out lies, that's a lie. That is an absolute lie.
It's a lie.
What was said.
You know, we often say facts don't have feelings.
It discredits your organization. And quite frankly, I'm very surprised that this came from the Washington Post.
Yeah, this was clearly a narrative situation. The facts didn't matter. They got in the way, and they lied. Leslie, you're right. Okay, I'm bringing both of you back in a little bit, so thank you. A historic power panel is back now. Leslie Marshall, Jason Meister. Jason, I'll start with you. Your top line thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know where Joy Behar was over the summer for 100 days when a very well-funded, well-orchestrated, and well-organized domestic terrorist organization burned American cities to the ground. I don't know where Joy Behar was 4 days ago when a federal courthouse in Portland was burned or lit on fire while there were people inside. To say that this is an idea or a concept is ludicrous, and it's extremely dangerous. And I think that the problem is that we have a sitting president and a vice president that over the campaign trail called them peaceful protesters. In some instances said something like the sort that Joy said, and they think it's okay to say these things. The problem is that they think Antifa is targeting the right. They think Antifa is targeting Republicans. Antifa is not targeting conservatives and Republicans. Antifa is targeting America and everything that she stands for. And so I think it's very important for the left to wake up and recognize what they're targeting, because it's not Republicans and it's not conservatives, it's America.
Well, and that's why sometimes we'll use the word anarchy in conjunction with Antifa as well, anarchists. Here's Christopher Wray, director of the FBI, on Antifa last year. Let's watch.
We, the FBI, have quite a number of ongoing investigations of violent anarchist extremists, including those motivated by an Antifa or Antifa-like ideology, and we categorize and treat those as domestic terrorism investigations and are actively pursuing them through our joint terrorism task forces.
Joy Behar should see that on a loop all day. Leslie?
Well, Joy Behar is incorrect, but so is saying that the president or vice president said what Joy Behar said or believes. The FBI director for Christopher Wray is absolutely right. Antifa started as a movement and an ideology that was against extreme conservatism and anti-fascism. But to say that Antifa or the mindset or the movement of Antifa doesn't exist is just factually incorrect. So, for example, Black Lives Matter organization, Proud Boys organization, Antifa, not an organization, and you can be part of any organization, but also be part of the Antifa movement. So it definitely exists, but it doesn't exist in the same category that some on the right want to place Antifa.
I'm just going to slide this in there because I know I'm going to get tweets about this. Black Lives Matter is also a movement. Not everybody is part of the organization that the three women started, with some things that people may not all agree on. Just FYI. And by the way, ideas and thoughts and all that kind of stuff, they don't set stuff on fire. Jason, Leslie, thank you.